You're watching the Microsoft US Health and Life Sciences Confessions of Health Geeks podcast, a show that offers industry insight from the health geeks and data freaks of the US Health and Life Sciences industry team. I'm your host, Claire Bonacy. As part of our 2021 Nurses Week series, today I talk with Stefan Torres, better known as Nurse Stefan on social media platforms. Stefan discusses his journey as a nurse and influencer and the importance of patient education. Hi, Stefan, and welcome to the podcast.
Hello. Thank you. Glad to be here.
So I have a few questions for you for Nurses Week. Do you mind just telling us a little bit about yourself and your background?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a nurse that lives in Seattle. I'm from Philadelphia. I moved over here when I was real young. I've been in healthcare for probably about 17, 18 years now, but as a nurse for about 8 and some change. And I've worked in a lot of different specialties, IMCU, medical, surgical. I've been trained all over the place: PACU, cath lab, IR, emergency, of course, that's where I have my board certification. And this last year, I've been training cosmetic dermatology. And so there's also all sorts of things you could do. Something for everyone. That's why I love nursing. And then since I think it was about 2018 when I got started doing kind of freelance kind of health education for healthcare professionals and the general public, using social media, social networking to kind of reach people where they're at. And it's been going great.
So what made you kind of want to do more of the education piece?
ER was like my happy place. And I loved it so much because there was so much patient interaction. And one of the last jobs that I had in the hospital was in the PACU. And if you're familiar with it, people are waking up from anesthesia, right? And so even if I spend 2, 3, sometimes 4 hours with them, they're still in this, anesthetized phase where they get up to the floor or they get discharged or whatever. They don't remember talking to me at all. And so I lost so much of that, like nonstop seeing 50, 60 patients a day, going in and out of rooms and just having that communication and that chance to educate. And so I was like, you know what? I want to be able to reach a lot of people. And so especially in the ER, you see kind of the revolving door of people coming in and out all the time, right? And it's usually, there's so many reasons. Of course, there's emergencies. Of course, there's problems that we can avoid, but a large majority of them are behavioral changes that we can do in our life, and it's to no one's fault, really. It's poor health literacy. Just all over the place. And a lot of times it's because health education was never part of someone's life. It's not important to them. It wasn't important to their family or their culture or anything like that. And so, but they end up with the consequences of having, things like stroking out at 30 and whatnot. And so basically, seeing that kind of thing. And I was thinking, when are we teaching patients? Generally, when they come to the hospital, if they're in the ER and they're getting discharged, you're busy running around. You barely got time to educate. They're like, I've just waited 3 hours for a CT to come back that's either told me that, I have something that I wish I didn't have, or we don't know what I have, but I have something going on. And so now I'm frustrated. They don't want to hear anything. They want to get home, because sometimes those stays are a long time. Or if they're inpatient at the hospital for days upon weeks, and they're in the wheelchair, their family is there, they're ready to wheel them out, and then we're sitting there trying to do our discharge instructions, and you're trying to teach about CHF as they're like ready to go and get out of there, and they're like, just give me the paperwork, I'll read it at home, and they end up leaving the paperwork and forgetting. And so it's not the most conducive time. People aren't receptive. Where we're teaching in the hospital, people are sick generally, or they're in pain, and it's not a good time to be in taking all this very, very, very important information. And so I realized that, and I said, well, where can I reach people where they're all at, right? And so social networking, social media has just blown up, even more so in the last year or so, and it's just become the place where if you want to get a message out, that's where you go. And so I decided that, I wanted to take, educating and not only deliver it on social media and social networking, but in a different way, because to me, I've always thought that health education has been generally dry. And unless you're really into the topic, it can be boring. You know what I mean? And there's better things you want to be doing with your life, And so my whole goal was to try and make it engaging and entertaining. And so that's why I kind of took it upon myself to, come up with storylines and little, gimmicks and gags and stuff like that, and try and be like an entertaining type of, influencer out there. And then, throw health education in there, and hopefully along the way, someone will learn something. So that was kind of, that was kind of my motivation to do it. And it's turned out to be really great. It's turned out to be really great.
No, I think that is really great because honestly, I mean, I turn to Dr. Google probably more than I would want to go do a telehealth visit. So of course, I'm going to be turning to Instagram, to TikTok, to anything kind of on social media where I can get more information that's fast and kind of at my own pace, or in the kind of the way I want to get it. So I think that definitely makes sense. Is there anything that you were surprised by when you started doing this on social media, or anything that really took you by surprise as people reached out to you about what content they wanted to see, or what was doing well and what wasn't doing well?
Yeah, as you were saying, using Dr. Google. I mean, there's a lot of people that don't seek medical help, and a lot of times this has to do with psychiatric reasons, mental health reasons. Mental health is just, everyone's got mental health, right? It's a lot more it affects certain people a lot more than it does others. And so, there's people with, that just don't want to leave the house, that are afraid to go and talk about their feelings, their emotions. That might not be a part of their family. That might not be a part of their culture. They might not be raised that way. And so, it's unfortunate. And so when you can get to people where they're at, because if they're staying at home and they're on social media, and you can get to them in that way, and you could talk about something like anxiety, depression, postpartum mood disorder, stuff like that, stuff that like they don't feel comfortable going out and reaching out to a provider necessarily, having a discussion about that, but they can learn about it and feel more comfortable with it. That's a big deal. And I think the thing that surprised me the most was kind of how much of an impact I ended up making. Because for me, it was kind of like, if I make a video and one person get something from it, I'll be happy, right? Obviously I want as many people as possible. I want to garner as much of an audience as I can to try and talk to as many people as possible. But truthfully speaking, if it was just one, I'd be happy with that and I'd keep doing what I was doing. But I was so surprised at how many people expressed gratitude and sent messages, and flooding with emails and all that. And it's funny because I during this last year, while I was doing a lot of this cosmetic dermatology training, it was very intensive, and it took a lot of my time. And so I wasn't really active on social media for several months. And I'm thinking like, okay, well, I'll pop back in. And the other day I just posted a picture for the first time since December. And I got so many messages of people saying, oh my God, I was so concerned with what was going on with you. Where have you been? I thought something happened. And I'm thinking, they're all over the country. They're over in the UK and out in Tunisia and stuff. And I'm thinking, why do these people care about me? You know what I mean? Like, I've got close friends I haven't talked to for several months that don't call me up and say that they're, concerned about my well-being. And so, it's just very interesting. But I realize that it's just this, it's this kind of mutual relationship that's unspoken, that's kind of unknown almost, that where I appreciate just human beings living healthier lives, and that's why I do what I do. And so, they reciprocate by having that appreciation that I'm giving that to them or helping them with that, and that's coming from my heart. And so in turn, they end up caring about me as a person. And so it's very unique, and it's really kind of bonkers when you think about it. But to tell you the truth, I wouldn't have it any other way. It makes it very, very special.
Yeah, I think you really hit on an interesting point, that this was a gap that you clearly saw, that there was not a lot of, healthcare information, education, especially on social media. You filled the gap, and then really you were making these genuine connections with people that, honestly, I'm even surprised by that. I think that's really surprising, but I think it does show that clearly this was needed.
Yeah.
And just given this past year where nursing professionals have really, really risen to the occasion of the pandemic, what's some advice that you would be giving them to assist with anyone to just try to be more resilient or kind of just get through it?
Oh yeah, I mean it's It's a big topic. Last year, I don't know if I mentioned to you, but I did a video series with the Washington Center of Nursing, Center for Nursing, and it was like a 7-8 part video series where we talked about different ways that this was in the thick of it when we were first, COVID was first kicking off, and we were all worried. We didn't, people were working, 24, 36, even longer hour shifts with, sleeping in the break room for a couple hours and not taking care of themselves. And so, out of all the advice that I think that I tried to dole out during that, I'd say probably, the most important one to drive home is to advocate for yourself in any way, shape, and form that you can, because nurses, just by nature, we have this nurturing, this wanting to really help others as much as we can, do whatever we can in order to help. And so what happens is we end up sacrificing our own health, and I'm guilty of doing it, pandemic aside, many a times, especially when I'm doing outside work as well. And so making sure you get your rest breaks, making sure you get your lunch breaks, making sure you get your adequate breaks between shifts, making sure you're getting enough sleep, making sure you're getting mental health help. If you don't know how to get it, find someone who knows how to get it, because it's really the only way to survive, and it's really the only way to maintain that stable mind, to be a prudent nurse. And in order to, it's really on us, as whether or not we do that. And it's hard because you want to help out the team, you want to help out your facility, you want to help out the patients. You don't want to let anyone down, but it's a disservice to yourself. It's a disservice to the patients. It's a disservice to the unit, to the hospital, if you're spreading yourself so thin that you're not the nurse that you normally are.
Especially now, it's May. It's Mental Health Awareness Month, so of course, hopefully, everyone can really take this to heart.
Yes.
And I actually have a last fun question for you. What act of kindness has impressed you the most during COVID?
Yeah, I was thinking about that one. There's so many amazing ways that people have come together, um, in so many different ways. But I would have to say that the people that are out there that are volunteering their time, because the time right now is of uncertainty for us, and it has been for a while, and I think it will continue to be. There's a lot of unknowns. No one knows. We have what was it, 15 days to flatten the curve, which is, it's been a while. And so, how long are we going to be wearing masks for? No one can answer that question, right? And so, we're faced with this, a lot of unknowns. And so, it puts a lot of stress on us. And on top of that, we have our jobs, we have our families, and we have more stressors because now we're around our families a lot more. Now we're around, there's so much going on. And so there's not a lot of time to do your own research. And there is a lot of misinformation out there. And there's a lot of, stuff that gets circulated that is just not, it's stuff that people should be really mindful when they're listening to, and finding sources that you can trust, I think, is very important. It's being spoon-fed whatever people think, someone tells them that they kind of trust. It is not the best idea. You really need to, again, advocate for yourself, do your own research if you can, or find someone that does it, that you can rely on, that because a lot of times with journals and whatnot, or their opinion pieces. And so it's really important to find that stuff that actually has good citations and resources and documentable and demonstrable, basically facts and statistics. And I think the people that are out there doing that, you've got these doctors and these scientists and these researchers and whatnot that are really dedicating their lives to helping out humanity. And that's what this is about, because our whole world is changing entirely. Everything we do, from the way that, from the way that we, travel, to the way that we spend money, to the way that we interact with each other as human beings, which is what, we're meant to do. So I would say the people that are doing that for the people that can't are people that are acting out of, sincere, genuine kindness. And that to me is really special. So.
Yeah, no, I love that answer. And definitely, I think those are, the unsung heroes, the people that we kind of forget about. We obviously we
Absolutely.
healthcare workers, but we kind of forget about those kinds of people that are doing the behind the scenes work.
Yeah, yeah, and there's a lot of them. I mean, there's so many of them.
Yes, yeah, that's very, very true. Well, again, thank you so much, Stefan, for being part of the podcast. And is there any
Absolutely.
last words that you want to tell our listeners or any plugs for any upcoming events that you have?
Um, well, let's see. I did just do a kind of a lecture speech thing. It was all about the nursing profession. It was geared towards high school students for a high school career fair type thing. And that'll be going out to a lot of different high schools, a lot of different facilities, and hopefully a lot of different nursing schools as well. Where I basically talk about, what nursing is, how do you get into it, what kind of person you got to be a nurse, that kind of thing. And I think it's really informative and worth the watch. So my website is nursestefan.com, and on Instagram it's at nurse.stefan, and so that's where you can find me, and I will have links to those videos and other ones on there. So yeah, feel free to reach out. There's my email's on there. nursestefan@gmail.com is usually the most reliable. So yeah, that's what I got to plug for you. And so I'm looking forward to Nurses Week. I know a lot of amazing things are going to happen that I'm going to be involved with. So it's coming up here shortly.
Exactly. Well, great. Thank you
If,
so
if,
much.
if it's not going on right now, I don't know when this is going to be aired. So
Spot on. It's going to be right in Nurses Week. So
wonderful. Good.
thank you all for watching. Please feel free to leave us questions or comments below, and check back soon for more content from the HLS industry team.